Video Olympics was one of the original 9 games that were released during Atari 2600's launch in 1977, and is one of several Atari games that are played with the paddle controllers. These controllers have a rotating wheel up top to control movement and the fire button to, well, fire. A second paddle controller is actually connected to the same port, so if you have 2 pairs, you can have up to 4 players if you've got a game that supports it. The cover of Video Olympics suggests that there are 50 games packed into the one cartridge. Technically this is true, but they're all roughly variations of the game Pong. Not to downplay the legacy of Pong or anything, it was the first video game to hit the mainstream and will forever be one of the most important games of all time. But can you really make 50 different versions of such a simple game? Well, there's really 7 distinct games, each with several variations, adding up to 50 altogether. The first one is a standard Pong game, and, well, it's Pong. Pressing down on the fire button will cause the ball to move faster, which is really the only way to get the computer to miss. Its paddle seems to have a magnet implanted in it that attracts the ball. One thing that's a bit strange is that you're on the right side while the computer is on the left. Usually by nature it's the opposite. Another weird thing is that standard Pong is the only game in the entire cartridge that allows a 1-player mode. All the rest must be multiplayer. It's bizarre, but I guess it's better than if it were the other way around. You can also play this game with 2 players, extra paddles, or 4 players for a doubles match. Next up is soccer, or foosball as it's called. Exact same game as earlier, except the goal has been shortened and you can use more paddles. Next up is hockey. Same as the soccer game with the shorter goal, except the net is away from the edge, allowing the ball to go behind it. And like the others, you can use multiple paddles in the other variations. Quadra-pong is interesting, but the fun factor level isn't really there unless you have 4 players, each guarding one of the 4 sides. It would be pretty awesome if each player had a different score and it was every man for himself, but in both variations it's just a 2-on-2 tag team. The second variation lets you hold the ball for a brief period of time before releasing it. Then there's handball. Smack the ball to the other side and the opponent has to hit it on the rebound, same rules as racquetball. You can have singles or doubles matches if you have 4 players. Volleyball tries to take Pong into a different direction by having the paddle scroll horizontally instead of vertically, and you have to hit the ball over the net in the center. There's an option to use the ability to switch the vertical position of your paddle, but it doesn't really help out the playability all that much. The problem is that the ball moves way too fucking fast, and it's hard to catch up to it. The beauty of standard Pong is that you can make the ball go faster gradually, making the volleys more intense, but this is just frustrating. I guess you can master it with a lot of practice, but really, do you want to? There's a 4-player doubles option here too, but whatever. The final game is also a disappointment, basketball. Like in volleyball, the ball is gravitated, but at least this time you can let it fall to the floor without losing points. The tough part of this game is scoring. You're only allowed to cover your half of the court, which diminishes the fun factor level of a 1-on-1 game, although your jurisdictions cross just a little bit, but not enough to make a difference. And you have to score in the opposite basket of the side you're on. Now that wouldn't be so bad if aiming wasn't so ridiculous. You really have just as much of a chance of sending the ball into your own basket, especially if you use the variation where the ball gets more bounce. Holy shit, does this game ever get insane. You know how sometimes if you run a lot more than your body's used to and you wake up the next morning and your legs are sore as hell? Well, that's the way your eyes will feel after playing this game for 10 minutes. You can use the options of changing the paddle's position, the amount of bounce the ball has, the ability to hold the ball, or the use of 4 players in a 2-on-2 game. So don't be fooled, this isn't really 50 games in one. It's 50 variations of 7 different Pong games. 2 of them are bad, and 5 of them are pretty average. But you have to remember also that this was 31 years ago. Only 5 years after the original Pong was released, it was during the baby stages of the Atari 2600, and this so-called collection of 50 games are still a hell of a lot better than Action 52.